trying to figure out, well, okay, now how does this translate into a job? What do I want to do next?
I had to make a clear decision for myself.
Music? It's an open-ended question. I have absolutely no idea where to even start with pursuing a career in music.
I studied sociology and music. I kind of did a double concentration or a double major. Back in that day, the music department was very history, theory, and pedagogy. It was more the, technical and academic context of music as opposed to actual music making. Today, they've grown a lot and there's a lot more musical and artistic practice. But I got there and I was like, you know what? I don't exactly want to become a historian or a pedagogue. So what else can I do? What else can I look at? And I looked to the sociology department, which was really interesting because it's a liberal arts school. So you're not getting technical degrees. So when I thought, I love the arts, I want to be involved in some way, maybe that looks like arts administration, it's got the word administration in the title. I can say that that's a job. Sociology seemed like the clearest or most interesting path for me toward that, because I thought, wow, what is social movement in terms of groups over time? And why do we, even deign as a group of people over history to make cultural practices and artifacts? That was further to this big underlying question of why? Why is that concert hall there? Why do we have a canon? Why is this a group of, music that we continue to program over and over again? What is the social organism that made all of that stuff? After going to Harvard and graduating, I was trying to figure out, well, okay, now how does this translate into a job? What do I want to do next? And it basically ended with me kind of dabbling in a lot of different corners of the arts administration world in a kind of free way. I worked a little bit for the American Repertory Theater, which is in Boston. I got that job through an internship I had. I did all of those jobs and I thought, okay, maybe I'll go to business school and I'll formalize this. I'll become an administrator very officially and get a business degree. Or I would give myself the challenge of going to conservatory and pursuing singing, because I still wanted to see, is this something possible that I could do? So looking at business school applications, that didn't seem so interesting. I didn't really want to walk down that path. It didn't seem like the right world or something that would actually hold my attention. So I kind of challenged myself. I said, I'd audition for conservatories. If I got in, I would do that. And if I didn't, I'd think of a new grad school plan. And so I auditioned for a bunch of places and got into Juilliard. And I took that as, the sign or the inspiration to go pursue singing. So bringing back this broader experience that I kind of accidentally had, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I realized that in the context of being a graduate singer, but also, figuring out the early parts of my career, I had a kind of a certain perspective on looking at what I was doing that was different than a lot of my colleagues, because I understood what the world around us was doing and how it worked.
My teacher just straight up asked me, what are you going to do? And at that point, I hadn't really considered a career in music, largely because I didn't really know anyone who had the kind of career that I was excited about. I had a couple of teachers who were in the NSO. So one was actually assistant CM who had careers like in chamber music and stuff like that. But it didn't seem tangible to me for whatever reason. I was just like, I couldn't conceptualize myself in an orchestra. I loved chamber music. So I was like, well, if I was to do this thing wholeheartedly, I'd probably want to be in a string quartet. But ultimately I was like, I don't want to be like a broke, struggling musician. And honestly, that was really what triggered me to pursue the science track initially, and ended up going to University of Maryland, and I majored in biochemistry and molecular biology, which is very different from being a music major. 3 semesters in, I had this moment where I really, really felt like I hit a crossroads. And even though I had both paths, that I felt like I was kind of on throughout school. It was one of those moments where I was just like, I really missed playing music. I really missed it because I had at that point not touched my instrument for 3 semesters because the kind of work that I was doing and research, and this was going the MD PhD route, it was really, really rigorous academically. I had to make a clear decision for myself. And then my mind starts going to a performance that I had been recently asked um, to do, meditation from Thais. So it's a piece that I knew and had been performing for many years at that point. And I remember it was like getting on a bike and totally forgetting how to ride, and it scared me. It really, really scared me. I think I really had an emotional breakdown at that point because it like there was this dichotomy of me being in this space where I'm on full scholarship, mind you. So I'm academically strong in this area. I just felt like my heart wasn't in it. Like, what if I made the wrong choice here? So I talked to my dad about it, and I'm really grateful that my parents were very supportive, and they really talked me through it. And I was just like, I don't want to go down this road and look back 30 years later and be like, I hate what I do. I think that there are so many young people that I talk to that are multi-talented, and that's an amazing thing, you know. And some know right away, like, this is the one thing that I'm really, 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 really good at. And so I was really faced with having to make that decision. So I ended up withdrawing from the scholarship program, withdrawing from the school. I had to beg my private teacher to take me back and get me ready. Mind you, I had not touched my instrument for 3 semesters. Ended up going to Indiana University for undergrad. I would say towards the end of my academic stay at Indiana, I was starting to experience some academic burnout because I had gone through, you know, 3 rigorous semesters of biochem, molecular biology, and lab work. Spent the remaining semester preparing for these auditions and going straight in to fall semester um, at IU, and then playing catch up academically through the summer sessions. So I had no time off. And that was, looking back, it was really, really grueling for me.
The reason I was pre-med and I did music was because I didn't know I was supposed to be a musician. I didn't know that this was going to be my path. My father is from Nigeria and my mom is from Grenada. What that means also is that they wanted their child, like me, to have a stable career. And as my dad would say, a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, because he's a Nigerian, Father God on that man. So I always thought that's what I was going to do. And I really, really enjoyed it. It just happened that circumstances changed where I started once again understanding what I uniquely brought to music. And once I had clarity on that, that's when I realized, okay, I think there's something here that I can bring. And I really want to try to bring that from a space of love. I have no idea how I'm going to pursue music. I've always thought that medicine is my path. Medicine has a path that I understand. Music, it's an open-ended question. I have absolutely no idea where to even start with pursuing a career in music. And I had to convince my parents, which is, I mean, that was probably the biggest challenge too. So I spoke to a friend of mine who was MD PhD, and he was also a Nigerian, and I needed his consultation. And he said, look, medicine will always be there. It will always be there as something if you want to do it. You're young. You might as well follow this passion if you feel like there's something tugging at your heart to do this. I said, okay. And that's when I just started to put music out there. I just started to try things. I started putting up YouTube videos. The beautiful thing I think about studying pre-med and being in college and getting other information is that it helped me understand how my music could be a part of a global society that we live in. That I could speak to people who are doctors. I could speak to people who are engineers. I could speak to people who are diplomats. I could speak to people in their context, understanding where they're coming from, why they're thinking certain things, so that when I present my music, there's a deeper conversation to be had rather than I'm siloed to the one thing that I know, which is music. That's the beauty of you all being who you are and bringing your uniqueness to the table so that the classical world gets a completely different feel of what it can be and you get to move the narrative forward. So I'd say anybody who's thinking about studying something outside of music, I very much would say go and do that. It's only going to help your humanity. And at the end of the day, music's purpose is to connect humanity through love.
And I don't want to say this in a way that is counter to anybody's life, but if you figure out your association with the concept or the reality of Santa Claus, trying to be very ginger. I don't want to break anyone's reality.
I just like zoned out while I was counting spore colonies on a petri dish. And like you get this little clicker and you're supposed to be like, counting these spore colonies. And I tell you, I just zoned out. I couldn't even tell you what I was thinking about.
I'm on that journey right there with you, sis. If I get any information about it, I'll let you know.